Have you ever wondered what happens when someone crosses the line with a person whose existence is built on giving? There is a quiet, devastating storm brewing when an empath's heart is shattered. It is a slow, cold reckoning that leaves the abuser drowning in the exact suffering they created. Stick with me to the very end of this video to find out exactly why they will regret it. You see, an empath loves with a depth that most people can barely comprehend. They do not just give you their time or their attention. They give you pieces of their own soul, trying to fill the hollow spaces inside of you. But when you take that sacred gift and grind it into the dirt, something fundamental shifts. The dynamics of the universe demand a heavy balance. Narcissistic individuals operate under a fatal delusion. They believe that someone's boundless compassion is a sign of endless weakness. They see an open door and think they can just loot the house forever without any consequences. But they fail to realize what powers that level of empathy. Empathy is not fragility. Empathy is an extreme emotional intelligence. When you break a deeply empathetic person, you are not just hurting a normal victim. You are severing a lifeline that was keeping your own darkness at bay. For months, or maybe years, this person has been your emotional shield. They absorbed your toxic shame. They metabolized your deep insecurities. And now, you have forced them to completely close that door. It happens quietly at first. You might not even notice the shift because they do not usually scream or seek immediate revenge. The empath simply stops trying to fix you. They stop making excuses for your terrible behavior. That warmth you grew so completely addicted to is suddenly withdrawn. And that is when the psychological starvation begins to truly set in. Imagine standing in the warm sun for years, taking it completely for granted. Then one day the sun simply turns its back on you. That is what it feels like for the abuser. The empath's departure leaves a cold, echoing void that nothing else can fill. The narcissist will try to find a replacement, of course. But superficial supply can never match real light. The empathy they gave you was a mirror that made you look better than you actually were. When that mirror shatters, you are left looking at your true reflection. And for a manipulator, there is absolutely nothing more terrifying than facing their own empty core. Without the empath's constant validation, the abuser is forced to sit in their own deafening silence. You might be sitting there wondering if you did the right thing by walking away. You might feel immense guilt for finally putting up a wall. But understand this, your withdrawal is not an act of malice. It is an act of ultimate self-preservation. By leaving, you have stopped enabling their sickness. You have handed them the bill for everything they consumed. The suffering they experience is not a punishment that you actively inflicted upon them. It is simply the natural consequence of losing the best thing they ever had. They broke the only person who was genuinely willing to love them without conditions. That realization does not hit them immediately. It creeps in slowly, like a chilling frost in the dead of night. By the time they truly understand what they have lost, you will be entirely unreachable. You will have taken your beautiful, healing energy and invested it back into yourself. And that is the ultimate tragedy of breaking an empath. The abuser is left to starve in the barren wasteland of their own making, while you finally learn how to bloom in absolute peace. To truly understand this dynamic, we need to strip away the clinical terms and look at the raw human truth. The narcissistic mind is constantly running from a deep, agonizing sense of worthlessness. They are empty vessels, desperate for anything that makes them feel real. When they find an empath, they think they have struck gold. They found a perpetual fountain. But a fountain must be maintained, and the manipulator only knows how to extract. They consume your forgiveness like it is oxygen, never once considering how exhausting it is for you to keep producing it. They mistake your patience for permission to keep pushing the boundaries. They test you constantly to see just how much abuse you will actually tolerate. This is where the hidden motives become so incredibly dark. They don't just want your love, they want your submission. They want to prove that they are powerful enough to break someone as strong and radiant as you. It is a sick game of control. Every time you cry, Every time you beg for basic decency, it provides them with a twisted surge of pure adrenaline. Yet, deep down, they harbor a secret terror. They know, on a subconscious level, that they do not deserve you. They know your light is authentic, while their entire persona is a carefully constructed fraud. That jealousy slowly turns into contempt. They resent you for having exactly what they lack: a genuine, beating heart capable of real, profound connection. So, they begin the systematic dismantling of your spirit. The subtle gaslighting, the sudden withdrawals of affection, the cruel remarks disguised as simple jokes. They are trying to dim your light so it stops exposing their shadows. They want you confused. They want you constantly off balance, doubting your own mind, so you will never realize your true power. It is like they are slowly draining your battery to jumpstart their own dead engine. And for a long time, you let them do it. Because your nature is to heal. You look at their brokenness and you think, if I just love them enough, they will change. But you cannot heal a wound that someone is actively choosing to keep open. You cannot fix intentional cruelty. The turning point arrives when the pain of staying finally outweighs the fear of leaving. The empath's breaking point is rarely explosive. It is usually a very quiet moment of absolute clarity. A single, seemingly minor incident occurs, and suddenly, the illusion just shatters. You look at them and you no longer see a wounded soul. You see a willing predator. In that precise second, the psychological contract is torn to shreds. The empath stops projecting their own goodness onto the abuser. This is the moment the manipulator dreads most, even if they don't consciously realize it yet. The emotional tap shuts off. The endless supply of understanding completely dries up. And the silence that follows is deafeningly loud. They will immediately sense that something has changed. They are highly attuned to your emotional output, and suddenly, they are getting nothing. No tears, no desperate pleas for validation, no anxious attempts to repair the bond. Just a flat, emotionally neutral stare. This is known as the gray rock method, but for you, it is no longer a tactic. It is reality. The manipulator's brain literally cannot process this absolute detachment. They expected you to break down. They expected to be chased. Instead, they are met with a terrifying wall of nothingness. The game has suddenly stopped working. The buttons they used to press for an instant reaction are completely disconnected. The empath has finally left the building. The immediate aftermath of this shift is intensely dramatic, yet entirely invisible to the outside world. The narcissist realizes the leash has snapped. Their first reaction is usually arrogant dismissal. They tell themselves you will be back. They convince themselves you are just throwing a temporary tantrum. They wait for you to inevitably crawl back to them. Days pass. Maybe weeks. And the silence only grows thicker. This is when the psychological plot twist happens. The person who thought they held all the cards suddenly realizes their hand is entirely empty. The panic begins to set in, slow and heavy. They start to feel the absence of your energy like a physical withdrawal. The starvation phase has officially begun. Now comes the frantic attempt to regain control. They will deploy every manipulation tactic in their arsenal. The sudden, desperate love bombing. The fake apologies that sound perfect but lack any genuine remorse. They will swear they have changed. They will promise you the exact future you spent years begging for. But it is all just smoke and mirrors, isn't it? You watch them perform, but the script no longer moves you. You hear the words, but you finally recognize the hollow echo beneath them. This is the ultimate power shift. You are no longer the desperate audience seeking their approval. You are the director watching an actor forget their lines. Their desperation is palpable and frankly, it is deeply pathetic. When the sweet talk fails, the mask will slip entirely. The rage will surface, raw and venomous. They will try to punish you for abandoning them. They will smear your name, recruit flying monkeys, and try to destroy your reputation. They want to make you hurt so badly that you are forced to react. Any reaction will do. They just need to know you still care. But you simply observe the chaos from a safe, untouchable distance. Every angry text, every desperate rumor they spread, only confirms exactly why you had to leave. Their rage is not actually about you. It is about their own terrifying loss of control. You are watching a parasite throw a tantrum because the host finally decided to cut off the food supply. This is the exact moment they realize the magnitude of their mistake. They didn't just lose a partner, they lost their emotional dumping ground. They lost the only person who was willing to carry their immense psychological baggage. The crushing weight of their own toxic shame falls squarely back onto their own shoulders. And they are utterly incapable of bearing it. You can almost feel the exact second their reality collapses. The narcissist is suddenly trapped alone in a dark room with their own inner demons, and you are no longer there to turn on the light. The suffering they experience now is profound. It is a cold, agonizing realization that they destroyed a rare, precious gift through their own sheer arrogance. They will look for your reflection in every person they meet, but they will never find it. They will try to extract that same level of devotion from new sources, only to realize that most people will not tolerate their abuse for a second. The new victims will leave quickly. The superficial supply will burn out fast. And the memory of your pure love will haunt them. This is the slow burn regret that will follow them for the rest of their empty lives. They will never admit it publicly, of course. Their fragile ego would never allow that. But in the quiet hours of the night, when the distractions fade and the performance stops, they know the truth. They broke the one heart that genuinely beat for them. And they are doomed. Let us look closely at the collapse that inevitably follows. This is not a dramatic movie ending where the villain gets locked away. The reality is far darker and much more pathetic. The narcissist's life becomes an endless, exhausting cycle of seeking the next quick fix. They are emotional vampires wandering through a desert, eternally thirsty, never satisfied. They will curate a perfect image on social media to hide their decay. You will see pictures of them smiling with new friends or a new partner. They want you to believe they are thriving without you. Do not fall for the illusion. Behind those filtered smiles is a desperate, scrambling soul entirely consumed by its own profound emptiness. It is completely fake. The truth is, they are haunted by the standard you set. You loved them with a fierce, unwavering loyalty. You gave them a taste of genuine peace. Now, every new interaction they have feels incredibly hollow by comparison. They cannot force themselves to connect deeply with anyone because they lack the basic internal hardware required for real intimacy. Over time, the facade requires more and more energy to maintain. The cracks begin to show in their professional lives, their friendships, their physical health. The toxic stress of constantly managing their false self starts to corrode them from the inside out. Without your calming presence to soothe their nervous system, their internal chaos simply runs wild. They become increasingly bitter, paranoid, and isolated. The charm that once worked so effortlessly begins to feel rehearsed and greasy. People start to see through the mask much faster. The narcissist finds themselves surrounded only by people as shallow and transactional as they are. It is a lonely, cold existence, entirely devoid of any actual human warmth. Imagine the sheer psychological agony of knowing you held a diamond in your hands, but you chose to smash it with a hammer just to see if it would break. That is the burden they carry. They can never undo the damage. They can never go back to the time before they ruined everything. The ghost of your empathy will sit in the empty chair across from them forever. And what makes it so incredibly devastating for them is the absolute finality of your absence. An empath does not just walk away easily. They fight for the connection until there is nothing left. But once they are done for eternity. The bridge is not just burned. The ashes have been scattered into the ocean. There is absolutely no way back. The abuser is left standing on the edge of that ocean, screaming into the void. They will try to rewrite history. They will tell everyone that you were the crazy one, that you were the problem. But the words taste like ash in their mouth. Because no matter what lies they spin to the world, they cannot lie to the crushing silence of their own empty bedroom. You are the only real thing in their entirely artificial universe. By destroying you, they inadvertently destroyed their only anchor to humanity. The suffering they experience now is the truest form of karma. It is not inflicted by the universe, it is completely self-generated. They built their own psychological prison, brick by brick, lie by vicious lie. The regret is a slow, dripping poison. It will not kill them immediately, but it will infect every single joy they try to experience. They will spend their final days wondering what their life could have been if they had just been brave enough to love you honestly. But cowardice was their master, and loneliness will be their only lasting, faithful companion. But this story is no longer about them. It is about you. You survived the emotional slaughter. You walked through the fire of their manipulation and came out the other side. Yes, you have burned scars. Yes, your heart was shattered into a million pieces. But look closely at those pieces. They are no longer fragile glass. They have crystallized into solid diamond. The pain you endured was horrific, but it served a profound purpose. It burned away your extreme tolerance for abuse. It taught you that your empathy is a sacred currency, not to be handed out to emotional beggars on the street. You finally understand the vital difference between helping someone heal and allowing someone to completely destroy your own spirit. You are standing in your power now, grounded and incredibly sharp. The naivety is gone, replaced by a deep, impenetrable wisdom. You can spot a manipulator from a mile away. You can feel the subtle shift in energy when someone tries to cross your boundaries. And most importantly, you now possess the absolute courage to walk away the second it happens again. Forgiving yourself is the final, most crucial step of this journey. Forgive yourself for staying too long. Forgive yourself for hoping they would change. You did not fail. You simply operated from a place of pure love, and there is absolutely no shame in that. The shame belongs entirely to the person who looked at your beautiful heart and decided to exploit it. As you rebuild your life, you will notice something truly magical happening. The energy you used to pour into their endless black hole is now entirely yours. It is flowing back into your health, your career, your passions, and your genuine friendships. You are blooming in ways you never thought possible. The heavy, suffocating fog has finally, permanently lifted. You will learn to trust again, but this time it will be different. You will not give your trust blindly. You will require people to earn it through consistent, respectful behavior. You will attract healthier individuals because your vibration has completely changed. You are no longer broadcasting a signal for broken people to come and drain your vital energy. The contrast between your life and theirs will become startlingly clear. While they continue their endless, miserable descent into psychological decay, you are rising. You are experiencing true joy, authentic peace, and genuine connection. You are living proof that goodness, when fiercely protected by ironclad boundaries, is the most powerful force on this earth. Do not look back at the wreckage. The person you left behind is a ghost, haunting the ruins of a life they actively chose to destroy. Send them nothing but absolute indifference. Your silence is the loudest, most powerful statement you could ever make. It tells the universe that you fully recognize your own immense worth, and you will never settle for less. You are a completely different person now. The empath who desperately tried to save a monster is gone. In their place stands a fiercely awakened survivor who knows exactly how to save themselves. Carry this profound strength with you every single day. Let it be the armor that protects your beautiful, radiant light from anyone who ever tries to dim it again. The ultimate tragedy of this story belongs entirely to the one who broke you, for they have to live the rest of their days knowing exactly what they threw away. You, on the other hand, get to keep the one thing they could never actually steal. You get to keep your beautiful, beating heart. Never forget, they lost everything but you finally found yourself.